Good morning out there. You are watching The Morning Show here on the Global Standout News Channel, Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati.
And I'm Bambai Mutimiri Ekpeyong.
And I'm Rafai Hosseini. Got a great show lineup for you for the next 3 hours. So sit back, relax, let's get started. The Morning Show begins right now.
The country's security sector is beset by long-standing challenges that undermine its ability to address violence and insecurity. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared a national security emergency last year, ordering the recruitment of additional security personnel alongside other far-reaching measures. The announcement followed mounting pressure on the government due to soaring insecurity marked by increased terrorist brutality and mass abductions of bandits. Joining us later on this show to discuss how we can rejig Nigeria's banditry crisis from emotional narratives to strategic clarity is Samuel Aruwan, public affairs analyst and former commissioner for internal security and affairs in Kaduna State.
Also, we shall be engaging Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, SAN, former president of the Nigerian Bar Association. We'll be discussing the unacceptable incompetence present in some Nigerian healthcare facilities and how we can strengthen Nigeria's regulatory frameworks, enhance professional accountability, and ensure that victims of malpractice have access to justice.
Catch up on news making headlines across the globe. Ifeami Akisanya brings us updates on the foreign scene and the world brief. We also review today's newspaper headlines across the globe. Rhodes Odiri gave us an update on global business outlook. Aaron Akirjala taking us through sporting activities across the globe, while Anyezi Alsakwa will fill us in on what's trending around the world, highlighting impactful stories and our good news report. It's going to be all that and a whole lot more today on The Morning Show.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's now time to take a look at news making headlines across the globe. Of course, we begin with Nigeria's foreign policy news today, as Nigeria's battle to shape Washington's view of its internal security crisis has spilled into a lobbying war, with the federal government dramatically outspending Biafran secessionist groups as both sides seek President Donald Trump's ear over claims of a Christian genocide. To the noted UK publication African Confidential, alarmed by Trump's threat last November to go into Nigeria guns blazing, President Bola Tinubu's administration and its allies have moved swiftly to counter separatist narratives in the US capital, signing a $750,000 a month deal for 6 months renewable contract with the Republican-linked DCI group to press Abuja's case on visa policy, military cooperation, trade and tariffs, and to emphasize government efforts to protect Christians and Muslims and combat jihadist violence. Well, the scale of the contract dwarfs that of the shadowy and unknown Biafran Republic government in exile, which is paying up $66,000 a month to the smaller Madison and Washington lobbying firm to push for sanctions against Nigerian officials, greater U.S. engagement with a putative Biafran administration, and even support for military strikes and favorable oil deals with Washington in an unidentified future Biafra. Well, the lobbying scramble has unfolded alongside intensified UN-Nigeria security contacts, including joint intelligence coordination and U.S. airstrikes on suspected jihadist targets in northern Nigeria over Christmas, underscoring how claims made in Washington are now intersecting directly with military, diplomatic, and commercial decisions affecting Africa's most populous country. Well, in a related development, the United States has delivered critical military supplies to Nigeria as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen bilateral security cooperation between the two countries. The delivery was confirmed by United States Africa Command, better known as AFRICOM, which oversees U.S. military operations across the continent. In a post on X, AFRICOM said the critical military supplies handed over to Nigerian partners in Abuja are in support of Nigeria's ongoing operations in tackling terrorism and banditry. It comes amid a broader security partnership between Nigeria and the United States. Well, AFRICOM has also pledged enhanced collaboration and support for Nigeria's National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in its fight against illicit drugs. A senior AFRICOM delegation has met with NDLEA chairman, retired Brigadier General Ahmed Noah, commending the existing partnership and promising further assistance in capacity building and international cooperation. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, that's DEA, liaison officer to AFRICOM, described the relationship between the NDLEA and the U.S. DEA as not only a partnership, but highly important to the U.S. government. Well, foreign policy is certainly dominating the news this morning as Nigeria's president has told global investors that the country is looking for partnerships that go beyond resource extraction and deliver jobs and value at home. At the 2026 Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week on Tuesday, President Bola Tinubu said Nigeria is ready to do business as he announced a new trade agreement with the United Arab Emirates and outlined plans to attract billions of dollars in climate finance.
At this forum with world leaders, investors, and development partners, President Bola Tinubu frames Nigeria's climate strategy as part of a wider global shift, one that links energy, finance, food security, and development. He says developing countries like Nigeria must not be forced to choose between climate action and economic growth.
At this defining moment in history, Nigeria stands with the global community, moving beyond ambition and chose delivery. The nation views the election approach as an opportunity to align climate action with energy access, economic growth, job creation, and social inclusion. As articulated in COP30 in Belém, in Brazil, climate action must be fair and just. Developing countries require predictable climate finance, accessible technologies, and robust capacity building to support full climate commitment without losing focus on advancing their developmental priorities.
He points to regulatory reforms, new carbon markets, and green bonds that are already helping to mobilize funding for clean energy and climate-resilient infrastructure, making a direct pitch to investors backed by figures.
It is in this spirit that Nigeria has launched a climate and green industrialization investment playbook to unlock 25 to $30 billion annually in climate finance. The Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority has launched a $500 million distributed renewable energy fund. The World Bank is implementing the $750 million there.
But the president was quick to warn that Nigeria remains open for business on its own terms.
I take this opportunity to invite partners that ensure not just extraction of minerals, but local processing and value addition, thus creating jobs and strengthening industrial capacity at home in Nigeria. You are very, very welcome. Nigeria is ready to do business with you. It's easy in, easy out. We just want value addition.
Alongside investment push, Tinubu announces a major diplomatic and economic breakthrough with the United Arab Emirates.
We welcome deeper engagement with UAE, sovereign investors, development partners, and private sector leaders to accelerate flagship project that reflects all systems go. And the spirit of partnership, it is with great pleasure that I announce that Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates have successfully concluded negotiations on a comprehensive economic partnership agreement. This historic and strategic milestone marks a new era in our bilateral relations.
The deal is expected to unlock investment in renewable energy, infrastructure, aviation, logistics, and digital trade. And next month, Nigeria will co-host Investopia in Lagos, the United Arab Emirates. Tinubu says the country is now fully ready for business, balancing climate action with growth and opportunity at home. Adeso Omoruan, Vice News.
All right, and now to politics. As the leader of the Kwankwasia movement in Kano and the 2023 presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, has accused the Kano state government of allegedly pressuring state officials to declare for the All Progressives Congress APC in the state. Kwankwaso, while speaking in Hausa in a video posted on the verified social media of his aide Saifulai Hassan, alleged that he has received a lot of information on how Kano state government is compelling officials and elected local government chairmen to sign for the Gandujia movement, a development he describes as disheartening, considering the effort of the NNPP to bring Governor Abba Yusuf into power. While wishing the governor well in his new political direction, Kwankwaso explained that his sudden change of position to allow supporters to choose for themselves was driven by the need to allow party members exercise their political rights freely and to reduce rising internal tensions within NNPP in Kano State. We're certainly yet to hear the last of developments from Kano State. Rufai, the permutations continue to develop. And then, of course, foreign policy is a huge focus this morning. Your take on these big stories today?
Okay. So in Kano, with the case of Kwankwaso, he's finally accepted now that his political godson will join the APC. And he said in the interest of not exacerbating the tensions in town, that, yeah, he could go, but he said it in a very cheeky way. He said it with a lot of remorse, like he has acknowledged the fact that he has lost the battle. But the question will be, will Kwankwaso follow his godson? No. And for other political godfathers that say it's a do or die affair, you can see Kwankwaso now and the governor of Kano. It's not that he tried to impeach the governor of Kano because he went to the APC. I don't know, maybe we'll do that tomorrow. It's not that they made Kano ungovernable because there's a breakback between two people. It's not that he told his followers, oh, go and fight the governor. In fact, the allegation I was making was the fact that they're trying to cause people to go with the governor. So you can see this case of a political godfather and a political godson. Because if it's in some areas, we try to impeach the godson, they will have rallies where they abuse the godson, they will do all sorts. In fact, even for good measure, the state of emergency will have gone into all of this. They will have dragged themselves multiple times to the presidents. Elders in the land will have tried to intervene. Probably Pandef will have even spoken to them. So we're seeing different areas. Because for those that kept on berating Fubara yesterday, let's remind them, videos that copiously show that Wike was constantly campaigning against godfatherism. And he also made promises that, oh, once I've left power, I've left power. I don't need to interfere any longer. The question we should ask is what changed? So let's see what will pan out in Kano. Even will Kwankwaso himself also leave? Secondly, the president went to Abu Dhabi for a conference. The question we should ask is, all these conferences President Tinubu has been going to, what has he brought for Nigeria? In the space of last year, President Tinubu didn't travel, he traveled well over 40 times. Question is, how much have I brought? If you go and check data, foreign direct investment, FDI, not announced propaganda FDI, real FDI that came in. I'm not sure since then Tinubu got in up to 5 billion. 2023, maybe a little over 100 billion, a little over a billion. 2024, other 1 billion mark. It's been 1 billion each. And the president have been gone for well over 100 and how many days, Peter Obi called it? 190 days. The good thing is, yes, they signed an agreement with the UAE government. About 7,000 goods, there's going to be tariff-free on all of that, sort of like an SEPA, they call it, all, as, ratified by the international trade law, GATT and the likes, which is all good. But the question is, we are signing trade deals. They are going to come to Investopia here. These are good signs. Jumoke Oduwole, kudos to her. But we are signing all of this. Vimbai, can single business people go to the UAE as we speak today? There are multiple visa restrictions between age 18 to 45. So can they enter the UAE as we speak today if they want to trade? So when will the president try to fix the visa restriction? But, if we go back historically, remember what happened? Remember how they said Dubai is back? And you remember what we got from it? You remember all the false announcements in the early days of this administration? One too many mistakes. President Tinubu, a lot of Nigerians are suffering in Dubai. To get work visas, difficult. Even from Nigerians that want to go and work there, to get work visas, difficult. For those that want to do tourist, single people, difficult. There's an age cap for them. So it impedes businesses. I think these are the things we should be able to work on more than ever before, rather than all of this signing. And hope we'll be able to follow up with these agreements. We're talking about an agreement we signed last year that we've not followed up on now.
No. It's this SEPA that they have now signed a year later.
That they have not signed a year later. Okay, it took a year. So let's hope that about a year after, we will not be taking another year to be able to look at the implementation of this SEPA. And the question we should now ask, tariff-free goods between Nigeria and UAE, who is going to get the balance of trade and the balance of scale? What is the quality of the products we have to give? Are these goods high return goods? Is it that we're going to use this opportunity to pack our raw materials there, or will add value? I think these are multiple questions we need to answer. I yield.
Okay, first, let me start with the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, January 11 to January 15. The outcome that we have seen there, Nigeria signing what we call a comprehensive agreement with the UAE, Economic Pact with the UAE. And two statements in that regard. One coming from Dr. Oduwole Miti, that's the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. We call that minister, the Minister Miti in our town. Now, then you have the statement from the president also saying that, look, this is an investment drive and we've been able to get some opportunities. The agreement signed are in the areas of trade, real estate, digital banking, and also, what else is it? Yeah, infrastructure financing. And of course, there's that statement from Dr. Oduwole, a very lovely statement about the opportunities that will come to Nigeria. About 7,000 Nigerian goods, particularly in the area of agriculture, will become tariff-free. Nigerian businesses will now have the opportunity to access the UAE market and set up businesses. Nigerian businessmen have now been given the opportunity to spend 90 days in a year, just like so visa access. So visa access was also addressed. And in other words, both countries in a mutually beneficial arrangement can also invest in Nigeria, and Nigeria can send more goods to the place. Okay, it all looks so nice. In fact, the president says Nigeria is going to co-host what they call Investopia from the title itself. You know, it's about investments. However, what I found interesting in the statement by Dimitri is a statement about swift implementation. She devoted a paragraph to swift implementation. And that is where I think the rub is. In this country, we're saying plenty of memoranda of cooperation, memorandum of understanding, memorandum of whatever, of commitment, whatever title they use. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a desk that is devoted to cooperation, whether it's a technical aid corps or multilateral agreements or bilateral agreements. The point I was making yesterday is that that desk in the that directorate in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is weak. It's not enough to just sign memoranda. If you go to where they keep memoranda of understanding or whatever in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I'm sure they don't have space anymore. And most of them have been activated, actuated, because some people in that ministry are just absent-minded. And I was saying that it's not a matter for the president. And I was speaking from knowledge, from understanding, as somebody who has been within that corridor. Now, those desk officers have to do their job. After these documents have been signed, there should be follow-up. They should be advised the government of the day, policy leaders. They should be, study, review, and then eventually impact assessment. We can't keep going about signing cooperation agreements and we don't see results. That is where the challenge is. No matter how beautiful, the statements that we're getting from President or Dr. Duwole may sound. If there is no follow-up, if there is no follow-through, then it will just be like they went to Abu Dhabi to have a photo opportunity, or that they went on a jamboree, which is a popular phrase that many of government use in this particular regard. So when we see the results, when we see the follow-through, we will believe that this is of benefit, truly, to the Nigerian people, as both Dr. Duwole and President Tinubu try to point out. Now, as for lobbies. Now, lobbying is a standard, tested, old tradition within the American system. And the whole idea of lobbying is that you want a side of the story to be heard. So if Biafra, the people promoting Biafra, if they are going to the US and they are paying how much, $60,000 to sell their own story, that Igbos have been marginalized and persecuted in Nigeria, and that the idea of a Republic of Biafra will be a good proposition. I think it makes sense that the Nigerian government too is in that space. It's not about the money. It's about the fact that the Nigerian government wants to be heard so that there's not just one voice in the room. The other matter is Nigeria being designated a country of particular concern on October 30, 2025 by President Trump. So it's a very good diplomatic move to say we want to have our own people in the room. There's a group called Aster Legal also, in Kaduna, that we're told is representing the Nigerian government through the auspices of the National Security Advisor. On December 12, 2025, the Nigerian government paid $4.5 million for 6 months. And the contract is renewable for another 6 months. So the lobbyists, what they will be doing basically is to get the Nigerian voice into the room to say, one, there is no persecution of Christians in Nigeria, or where it exists, the Nigerian government is addressing those issues, and religion is not, a major problem in Nigeria, to the extent that this is, a neutral state when it comes to religion, which is well stated in Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution, and which the Minister of Foreign Affairs referred to at a forum, I think, in Germany. Now, the delivery of military supplies by the United States, this is evidence, it is a clear evidence that the cooperation that the Nigerian government talked about, that they said they needed, the assistance that they needed in dealing with the multiple threats that Nigeria faces on many fronts is real. And the Americans themselves have said there is mutual partnership between Nigeria and the United States. And now African Command, U.S. African Command, AFRICOM, as it is known, has now brought these supplies to support the Nigerian government. The mutual interest that is there is that the Americans themselves do not want, the South region or West Africa to be turned into a hub, into a playground for global terrorism networks. And so it's a question of shared interest. As for Kwankwanso, well, the people involved, they are all adults. If they like, they will say they are leaving NNPP, they are going to APC. But the point raised by Dr. Kwankwanso, which I think should be underlined, is his allegation that it looks like the APC is stealing people from other political parties and suppressing the opposition. Well, those who speak for the APC have said that is not the truth, and that it's people exercising their right to choose. But a long-term objective, as we move towards the 2027 general elections, that we do not want to have the kind of situation that they are going to have, that they are having right now in Uganda, in Myanmar, and that they have had in countries like Madagascar and Tanzania and Kenya, where the ruling party believes that it has an absolute right to suppress other people. We will not support repression or intimidation in this country. We don't have anything. We will speak up. And finally, those Biafra separatists, lobbyists in America, they can spend their $60,000, but they should know, they should be reminded that is an act of sabotage against the Nigerian state. If you are still a patriot, if you are still a citizen, and you are sabotaging the Nigerian state, demarketing your country within the international sphere, there are consequences in that particular regard. Everybody should be well advised before we are told tomorrow that we are not supporting people who are following self-determination rules.
Absolutely. A lot of big topics to unpack this morning, but maybe for ease of transition, let me continue Dr. Abati has left off in discussing the issue of foreign lobbying. Now, it's become very clear that we've moved into an era where narrative control supersedes formal diplomacy as we've known it. We've gotten into an era where the person who is able to shape the conversation around issues holds the power, as opposed to that era when it was more about that formal engagement, counterparts sitting down and meeting and exchanging ideas. Now, of course, foreign lobbying is nothing new. This is a multi-million-dollar industry globally. Some of the biggest countries that engage in foreign lobbying, Japan, South Korea, UAE, and they spend up to $40-50 million per year to ensure that their policy directives are pushed forward. But what we're seeing in this current Trump administration, specifically relating to African states, is a little bit different. We're seeing some certain minority groups and breakaway groups going to appeal to the extremities, if I may say, of Donald Trump to try and push their own agenda. This is most blatantly seen in South Africa. The group called AfriForum that represents Afrikaner rights, which is a minority group, have gone to lobby, and they've said that, well, being persecuted in our country. And we've seen that this has directly caused the breakdown of relations between South Africa and the United States. Now, in the instance of Nigeria, things are a little bit different because the South African government have been able to bring out data and evidence to dispel all of what they've now categorized as disinformation around persecution of this particular group. The other thing is that this particular group are looking more for a safe haven. Well, you may call them a breakaway or a separatist group. That's AfriForum. We're looking for Orania, which is a land of Caucasians within South Africa where they can self-determine. Now, when you look at the Biafran group, as they are being called, or, that are engaging in this activity, then one has to ask ourselves, have we in engaging with the American government, have we finished our data collection? Have we finished our national framework for a strategy to counter and to actually deal with the foundational issues on the ground? Or else this will end up being a PR exercise. We don't want it to be a failed exercise in putting lipstick on an issue that has deep foundational roots. It must be a concise and a thorough exercise that addresses international engagement on one level while combating some of the structural issues that are here on the ground, which is what we link to the arrival of this consignment of equipment that has come. First of all, we hope that an instance of cooperation with the U.S. government, collaboration, with the U.S. government, and not cooperation. Collaboration means that you are peers on equal footing, agreeing on a way forward. Cooperation means that one group is being coerced or one group is beneath the other and is being strung along and forced into certain action. But we have seen results. The Nigerian Air Force have started doing airstrikes in Borno State, which have been a direct result of some of the information gathered by the U.S. ISR, that's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions of the AFRICOM flag that have been coming around. So in essence, what we are saying is that the engagement is welcome. However, let it be that this engagement is supported by action on the ground that deals with the core fundamental issues that have brought us where we are, whether it be around persecution of Christians, insecurity, spike in terrorism. It should not be a PR campaign. It should be about ensuring that we are communicating real and legitimate actions that are being taken on the ground. I'll now quickly move to Abu Dhabi in the interest of time. Now, what the global conversation at the moment around sustainability and energy is called the energy trilemma. Can energy be accessible? Can it be affordable? And can it be sustainable? And when you listen to President Tinubu's speech at the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, you hear that there was a lot of emphasis on the Electricity Act 2023, the efforts to decentralize access to electricity, and the emphasis of trying to ensure that our communities become electrified. Now, one shall I say lapse? I stand to be corrected. I hope I can be corrected. I was a little bit concerned that the president was speaking on the Electricity Act and issues around sustainable energy, but I did not cite the Minister of Power. Adelabu. I know we've gone into political season, and I hope it's not because of any other ambitions, any other commitments pertaining to politics that he wasn't on this engagement. But it would have been quite encouraging to the optics if we had seen the Minister of Power on the seat as President delivered this compelling case for the Electricity Act 2023. Now, another issue pertaining to the Electricity Act 2023 is that as we sell it to outside investors and partners, that we do need to boost our electricity infrastructure. The question is, how well are we doing in ironing out the niggling issues? We saw Enugu try to be a pioneer in trying to localize electricity generation and pricing and so forth. And we see that those issues have not been resolved. There's on paper, it's still a great piece of legislation, but practicalized and implemented, we're yet to see it work practically speaking and effectively. I close by saying the UAE is a great source of export for Nigerian gold. However, the Minister of Solid Minerals has reiterated, and several have reiterated over the years, that the majority of the gold that goes out, not just to UAE, but generally out of Nigeria, is smuggled gold. Now, I hope this SEPA agreement is going to create an infrastructure that allows us to legitimize the gold that is leaving, valued at over, among other minerals, valued at about $9 billion. I hope that this framework will allow us to legitimize, not just to legitimize, but also to add value to that gold that is going to the UAE markets. All right. Well, on that note, it's time for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Femi and Sonia join us for the World Brief and to review top stories in today's newspapers. Do stay with us.
energy has improved the lives of Nigerians in the sense that we can have a cleaner environment and thereby preserving the earth for future generations. Our mission is to ensure we develop and deliver locally acceptable, contemporary, and innovative solutions in partnership with global organizations to ensure that we become the first and the trusted for Nigerians. So the option of having a solar solution at just 30% equity already ensures you have money back in your pocket, because then you can pay on a monthly basis over a period of time, which if you compare with the fact that you're also paying grid, actually more affordable over a period of time. Then you can have your access to power under your control at every point in time for up to 10 years.
Mama the mama.
My smally.
Gen Z mama we carry better swag.
You dey wine. You be like say plenty credit don't overload for that exercise.
Credit now water. You say no now.
Glow talk master. My little lioness.
Where they retire senior lions.
I dey make one better dress where you go wear for these holidays.
When I land them, I go finish you with plenty kissing.
Who you dey kiss dey finish on my credit? Who be this? Mr. Man.
Ah, Mama.
Why they disturb us?
Don't give me heart attack.
I say you never hear about Glow talk master.
We get data. Let's video call her.
Ah.
Free on Globemaster. Talk for 6 minutes and get 6 minutes free. Plus 15 megabytes of data free. Simply dial *606#. 2,000 naira for new customers. 1 naira for voice. 1,000 naira for data.
My baba dey always say, for market, every day gets your own wahala. Sometimes people but Baba say, no be by gra, you must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see me. My Baba remember OPay USSD lock, that's a 955*131#. Baba press and lock account. From market woman to driver, from small boy to big man. Now, OPay, they protect people like us. My papa fit sell, press phone, collect POS, teach me price. And when they don't tire, go just start OPay night guard. We no fear for this our hustle life. Now, OPay be the full payment shield.
Every business creates data. Sales, payments, movements. Sparkle turns activity into information you can understand. And insights you can act on. Sparkle doesn't just show you what happened, it helps decide what to do next.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Vivai. Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning.
Hello, how's everybody? Thank you. Thanks for How's everybody doing? Good. Good morning to viewers. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. Well, let's begin with the news that Nigeria's federal government has hired an American lobbying firm in a $4.5 million contract in order to communicate Nigeria's efforts in protecting Christians back to the United States government. Now, let's take a look at this contract here. All of this is according to this contract. Now, it does show the agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice, in which Aston Legal, which is a law firm based in Kaduna State, it did hire the services of DCI Group on behalf of the Nigerian National Security Advisor, Nuhu Rubadu, who's also noted on this contract. Now, the contract is to last 6 months until the 30th of June 2026. And the contract also includes a clause that stipulates that any party can terminate the agreement any reason without penalty by providing 60 days advance written notice of the termination to the other party. That's what's set out in this contract here. But the wider story here is that the UK publication Africa Confidential report, they said that essentially there's a bit more to the story. So what they're talking about is Biafra secessionist groups, how they've paid Washington lobbyists to the tune of $66,000 in order to get support from the likes of senior Republicans, the likes of Ted Cruz, that's him there, and also Mike Pompeo, both of those senior Republicans. But as this has reported and clarified, the Nigerian federal government with this contract outspends the separatists by far, as it has agreed to pay $750,000 monthly for 6 months. Now, across those 6 months, that would be a total of $4.5 million. Now, we have seen these reports. There had been reports circulating citing $9 million, but that's actually not true at this point. Now, at the end of this initial 6-month period, the contract can be renewed for another 6 months, which would take the total amount to $9 million, but that hasn't happened yet. What has happened, what is confirmed, is $750,000 monthly for 6 months, which totals to $4.5 million. Now, we remember that all of this stems from the Trump administration redesignating Nigeria a country of political concern. This allegations of Christian genocide here in Nigeria. And we do know that this also was off the back of that Christmas Day strike. Now, meanwhile, the latest signal of a positive Nigeria-US relationship, Washington had a new batch of military supplies to Abuja. We're seeing that on the screen here. Now, the United States Africa Command, AFRICOM, issued a statement on X on Tuesday confirming the update, but did not disclose the specific nature or quantity of the delivery. That being said, the move signals a sustained U.S. security engagement with Nigeria amid rising concerns over terrorism, insurgency, and transnational crime across parts of the country. Now, what you're seeing behind me are images during that Christmas night strike. The United States forces did conduct airstrikes in Sokoto State, and they were targeting Islamic State-linked militants accused of working with the Lakurawa jihadist group and also local armed bandit networks. Those strikes followed a diplomatic disagreement sparked by allegations of persecution and of violence against Christians in Nigeria, which we also talked about in our very first story. Now, staying on the African continent, we are one day away from Uganda's presidential and legislative elections. However, Ugandan authorities have imposed a nationwide internet blackout. This is it had started on Tuesday, which was 2 days before the election day, in which President Yoweri Museveni is expected to prolong his 40-year rule. Now, a government regulatory body instructed mobile network operators to block public internet access at 6 p.m. local Ugandan time on Tuesday. The blackout has heightened fears of repression, and that is as Yoweri Museveni, who's 81 years old, he is Africa's third longest serving leader. He's being challenged by pop star turned politician Bobby Wine, the gentleman behind me. Now, in addition to cutting off of the internet, the government on Tuesday also ordered 2 local human rights groups that have been critical authorities. They're called Chapter 4 Uganda and Human Rights Network for Journalists in Uganda. Both of them have been forced to halt their work. Now, Uganda does go to the polls tomorrow, Thursday, the 15th of January, to elect the next president, who could likely be Yoweri Museveni again. Moving on to news headlines across the globe. Let's start as ever with the front page of This Day. And This Day does lead with reports that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the United Arab Emirates to deepen trade, investment and cooperation in energy, infrastructure and digital trade, with the UAE remove tariffs on over 7,000 Nigerian export products, and both countries planning to co-host Investopia here in Lagos next month in February. We've discussed the story regarding the lobbying contract and given a lot more context. This Day, I would implore you as ever to read the write-up on this. It does have a lot more background information, excellent journalism there. And just for clarity's sake, which you see on the front page, it is $750,000 monthly for 6 months. Just for the sake of clarity. Let's move on to the Daily Independent. Meanwhile, following on from what we were talking about on This Day, the Daily Independent does add that President Tinubu is using the Nigeria-UAE trade pact to attract up to $30 billion annually in green financing in order to expand tariff-free access for Nigerian exports and boost investment and jobs. Let's take a look at the Punch. Okay, so the Punch this morning, it does report that a faction of the ADC, that's the African Democratic Congress, is courting former President Goodluck Jonathan, the ex-Senate President Bukola Saraki, and Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, as well as other top political figures, as it's seeking to build a broad alliance and strengthen its base ahead of the 2027 general elections. We'll see how that goes for them. The Punch also reports that Nigerian governors budgeted about 525 billion naira for security votes in 2023 and 2025. But as we're seeing, killings and insecurity continue to spread, raising concerns over transparency and the effects of that spending, heavy spending. Let's take a look at the New Telegraph. Wonderful. So the New Telegraph does report that the United States has delivered military supplies to Nigeria in order to support the ongoing security operations here in the country. They're trying to reinforce bilateral security cooperation coming weeks to US airstrikes on ISIS-affiliated targets in Sokoto State as part of that joint counterterrorism efforts between the United States and Nigeria. It's the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust reports that former Kano State Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has advised officials loyal to the Kwankwasia movement who are under pressure to temporarily align with Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf's planned move to the APC, describing it as a tactical step. But he also says this step is supposed to ease tensions while preserving the movement's strength ahead of the 2027 elections. Politics. Well, let's take a look at our UK papers. We've got a double whammy. We've got the Daily Telegraph and the Financial Times. Now, both of these papers are reporting that US President Donald Trump has warned Iran that killers and abusers will pay a big price, and as he urges protesters to keep going, assuring them that help is on the way. Well, what does he mean by that? We'll have to wait and see. And lastly, let's take a look at the New York Times this morning. The New York Times does report that the former US President and Secretary of State, respectively, Bill and Hillary Clinton, have refused earlier this week to testify in the House's Jeffrey Epstein investigation. They're escalating it's a months-long battle with Republican leader, the Representative James R. Comer of Kentucky, who quickly said that he expected to hold them in contempt of Congress for their refusal to participate in this investigation. Well, those are your newspaper headlines and your World Brief. Love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so this is my thoughts about this lobbying conundrum and the lobbying warfare. I think we are all losers in this as Nigerians, both the Biafran lobbyist group and the federal government. And I'll take you back to 1968. In the thick of the Civil War, the Biafran side engaged a Geneva-based lobbying company and a media PR company called Mark Press to propagate the ideology, the idea, and have easy passage. And we're telling the Biafran story then. The Nigerian government also reacted, got their own PR company too, to be able to equalize it. Both companies earned a lot of money, went on media spin, and Nigerians were dying in the southeast part of the country. There was kwashiorkor, there was malnourishment, there were kids dying. While the PR companies did their thing, the heart and the soul of this country was broken. Parts of this country couldn't trust each other again, but the PR companies made their money. Fast forward till today, the same thing happening. Government gets their PR company, what they call the Biafran lobbyist group, their PR company, why people are dying in Nigeria, but the PR company are making the big buck. Can we stop the killings in Nigeria? That's my priority. I mean, I don't care for the PR lobbyist company. Let's have a country where people will not die, where they will have sanity, where they can truly say Nigeria did not happen to them. Look at the front page of the Daily Trust. Those cars leaving a certain area was because Bello Tuji was going to strike around there. So people are dying in droves. In the PR dance, it doesn't offer well for anybody. I want a country that is safe, that is secure for everybody. That's my priority. And not this jubilation and gesticulation. Oh, we have a pound back in the PR warfare. We are outgunning. I even saw one of the headlines say we are outgunning. Outgunning at the expense of Nigeria's life being gone, died. People are dying. And we are outgunning each other on who can be the best PR company. Do we think? Are we sensible? Are those lives being lost? Are they just numbers? They have families, goals, and aspiration. As regards Clinton, I feel Clinton.
Yeah, so the New York Times.
And I know the reason why they're going to go, because they're going to harass him. And that's what Trump wants. The same Trump that has told the DOJ to release a redacted version of the Epstein file and doesn't want to take accountability as regards the Epstein file. Is trying to rope Clinton in. I'm not saying Clinton is a saint. Committed a lot of crazy things in his own time. But he who that come to equity must come to equity with clean and clear hands. And I think that's just what Clinton is saying there.
Right. Final word on the issue around the lobbying that I had not said earlier was that, Dr. Abati had alluded to the fact that this, in essence, this is sabotage. If you're going to a foreign government and you're calling on certain actions to be taken that are, illegitimate and you're not an elected group. Yeah. In the South African case with AfriForum, it was taken as far as high treason, that you are an unelected group of people. Of course, there's freedom of speech. People are free to go and express and lobby for what they feel is their constituted right. However, in this instance, when what you're lobbying for goes against sort of the progress and the constitutional order of your country, then that does fall into the category of treason. Now, what struck me, Rufai, is the same story that struck you, the front page of Daily Trust with those, droves of people leaving Sokoto State. And, we now know that there are concerns about, reprisal attacks happening in that area. And, I've spoken about Achille Mbembe several times here, the Cameroonian philosopher, who speaks about necropolitics. Now, necropolitics is what's happening here because we now have the politics of ungoverned spaces. You have the airstrikes that took place, and these terrorists are said to have escaped to various places. They're probably hiding in one bush or another. To the credit of this administration, they've also sent some forest guards into the bush. However, because the bush is now inhabitable and whatever their agenda can't triumph in the bush, they now have to come back to where the cities are, and they're now pushing people out. The potential humanitarian concerns there that I hope be addressed in due course. I close with Uganda, which is going to election tomorrow, Thursday the 15th. And this issue specifically around the internet ban began last year when the president issued a directive that individuals are no longer allowed to purchase Starlink or to operate Starlink operated devices within the country unless they have the written permission of his son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is also a general in the nation. Now, of course, we knew it was going to snowball to there being an internet shutdown. And they're saying that, well, Bobby Wine made some comments where he said that if you feel that your vote is not counted, go to the streets, rise up. And they say that this is a call for anarchy, so we're going to shut down the internet. Whichever way, this is unacceptable. And we pray somehow by some miracle for a free and fair election in Uganda.
Okay, very quickly. Let me start with domestic news. We didn't get a chance to talk yesterday, which is that tomorrow is Armed Forces Remembrance Day, January 15, the day when Nigerians honor their fallen heroes and identify with the the Nigerian Legion, and also families of persons who have paid the supreme sacrifice so that this country can remain one and continue to be a sovereign state. Now, last year, 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not at the ceremony. He was absent. And some of the people who are saying that, he's absent most of the time or some of the time. We discussed a topic like that yesterday with Peter Obi raising the issue. We are hoping that now that Nigeria has been able to do this comprehensive, partnership agreement with Abu Dhabi at the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, that the president will create time and show up at that event tomorrow. Since 1999, only President Muhammadu Buhari missed the event on January 15, 2010. Every other president since 1999 has been present. Now, the issue now is will President Ahmed Tinubu, after being at the emblem launch before he traveled, will he show up tomorrow? Not through press releases, but stand with our fallen heroes and say, as your president, I am present. And maybe that will compel people like Mr. Obi view their opposition partisan condemnation of the president. The second issue that the president also has to address has to do with this Osun State Local Government Council issue. We have been carrying that issue forward since 2024. Now, October 26, 2025, I think it was the Supreme Court that said that the PDP elected local government in Osun State are not the validly elected people. And this same administration has kept local government funds since February 2025, depriving people at that level. Now, last week, or was it really this week, I mentioned that there is a protest from the Osun State government that UBA, United Bank for Africa, had opened illegal accounts for those persons. I said, well, UBA is doing business, but why will anybody act contrary to the position of the law? Now, civil society groups this week are already protesting that the local government secretariats in Osun have been occupied by policemen. That should also draw the attention of the Inspector General of Police as something to be addressed. And I think Governor Adeleke, trying to be calm and all that, it is about time that he came up publicly with a State of the Union address in his state to say, we are having this problem. Otherwise, questions will be raised. How has he been managing the local government councils in that state? And then finally, there was another issue that I raised, I think also early this week or so, about the boards that the president appointed, the names that he submitted to the National Assembly. Since January 5, that National Assembly is in session. We have not heard anything about the board for NMDRA and for NUPRC. And I raised the point here that some persons who were no longer in that list have been going to office. We need clarity on that. And only the president himself, who is the appointer, can provide clarity in that regard. And for the National Assembly, the Senate, specifically, to act expeditiously in considering the nations. If the presidency is going to withdraw the list, let them do so that there will be clarity and there will be certainty, and those institutions can function within the purview of the law. Finally, in Uganda, we are not surprised. What do you expect? The National Resistance Movement, this is the same way the party behaved in 2021, the last election. And what you have is a rematch between the National Resistance Movement and the party of Robert Kyalunga, that is the National Unity Party. Now, Museveni is talking about protecting the gains. What gains is he still protecting after 40 years and at 81 years of age? Now, the Mind Group is saying protect the vote. And ahead of this, we have had the victimization of Besigye, the victimization, the trial of Sarah Birite, and now they have banned the internet. This is what dictators do all the time. The question now is, the outcome is predictable. Museveni will win. He's getting 7 terms. But the young people of Uganda has the youngest group of people. Average age in Uganda is 17. Are the young people going to vote for this dinosaur? Even if many of them, they have not known any leader since they were born. Yeah, it's a dinosaur. Number two is that after Museveni, he is already positioning his son, Muhuzi, General Muhuzi, they call him, who controls the military. This is the tragedy in Africa. Or is it Democratic Republic of Congo, or Kenya, or Mozambique, or Tanzania? Unfortunately.
All right. Anthony, thank you so much. Gosh, I feel like we always need more time. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Rutus Odiri to give us updates on global business activities. Do stay with us.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with the woman that makes all the things happen in Fidelity Bank, MD of Fidelity Bank.
FNTTC was conceptualized in 2022. The whole idea was to create a platform where our exporters lead with the global community are able to showcase their products. What would be the banking industry to meet the needs of our customers? And we could see that the exporters were struggling with, they didn't have a global stage on which to showcase their goods. We did so much initially in terms of capacity building. After that, the products were made, were put in proper quality, packaging and all of that. So the next step naturally is to take it to the global stage, especially if you focus on making world-class products.
Like they say, build it and they will.
Yes, they will. Don't worry about it. Build it, will come.
All right, ma'am.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Good morning. Today's weather will be sunny with a high of 31 degrees.
Alexa, music, please.
Playing workout music.
Striving for mastery? You need speed, precision, and clarity of purpose. They all add up. Talent is not enough. You've got to prove that you're able to take advantage of unlimited opportunities when they come. And to do that, you need plenty of data. Scratch that. You need unlimited data. And there's no better provider of unlimited data than your all-powerful Glow router.
Whether home or office, enjoy unlimited data on a Glow router. Dial *312#.
You know, I've got unlimited eyes.
Glow Unlimited.
I'm still watching.
In most parts of the world, girl child are not recognized in a family. I hope all this problem holding down a girl child did not hold me down.
The idea behind the project is to identify schools that we think the parents are not economically empowered to sponsor their children to schools.
In demonstration of our commitment to reduce that number, we've come here today to provide some of the essentials that we believe would help the children in school. We worked with different schools in 5 states across the country, and we reached out to 15,000 children.
I want to be a good scientist. And Polaris Bank is helping me realize this dream. I'm perfectly excited.
Every winter, the world's most influential people come to Davos to negotiate the future face to face. Money, energy, war, AI, trade, innovation, and all else. Africa will be there as well as Nigeria. The decisions made here will shape what happens to everyone else. As always, Arise has a front row seat, not to admire power, but to interrogate and shape the future. Join me, Rutus Odiri, Rolake Akingube Filani, Izie Sakwe. Trust us to be your guide to the 2026 World Economic Forum. Watching closer, listening harder, and translating the moment into what it means for your life. because the decisions made here don't stay here. You travel into markets, into borders, into prices, into policies. Stay with Arise News 2026. We're live, relentless, uncompromising. If it shifts the world, you'll see it first on the world's standout global news channel, Arise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Rice News. Now, for updates, Rotus Udiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Bassi. Good morning, Vibai. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, all our viewers. We begin, of course, tied a broken record at this point. Gold and silver just continuing to rise and rise, record after record. Look at that, 4,006. This is at 89. Silver was at 90. In fact, I think at this point, it's probably crossed 90. It was oscillating between $90 and $89 an ounce. This is something that started at $36 an ounce at the beginning of 2025. So again, talk to your financial advisor and assess your risk tolerance before you jump in. What are the triggers that are booming precious metals? You've got Trump egging on protesters in Iran, saying, go ahead, disrupt your government. Meanwhile, people are getting killed. He hasn't done the military intervention he said he would. Greenland, the Prime Minister of Greenland and the Prime Minister of Denmark had a press conference yesterday. Greenland outrightly rejecting the United States, saying we picked Denmark. Then you've got the Venezuela situation, and you're not quite sure where things are going there in terms of the future. And then Federal Reserve independence with global federal central bank governors come out in defense of power. Although there was some funny drama in New Zealand where the Reserve Bank governor was told to stay in her lane and not get into U.S. politics. So that's on that. So a quote from the Jens Frederik Nielsen, Prime Minister of choose between the United States and Denmark. Here and now we choose Denmark. And of course, President Trump was the comments, and in local parlance, what we say in Nigeria, basically said, who be this? But here's the clip of Trump responding.
The Premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the
Who
final
said
word?
that?
The Premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with him. I don't know who he is, don't know anything about him, but that's going to be a big problem for him.
Somebody's telling you that I don't want you to come and take over my assets, and you're telling me that's your problem. The man is amazing. Japan for 2 days now has been leading Asian markets. Monday was a holiday, and so over 3% gain for the Nikkei 225, 1.6% gain today on the Takaichi trade, which is basically about expansionary fiscal policy. She has a massive budget that she wants to put forward, and also there's news coming out that she plans to call a snap election in February. Remember, Ishiba, when he stepped down, he called a snap election, and the LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, lost their majority in the upper house, and they have a very thin majority in the lower house, right? So she didn't come in through an election. It was basically, as far as the Japanese people are concerned, it was within the party. So her poll numbers are apparently very high, according to Japanese media, somewhere around 78, 80%, including her cabinet. So she wants to flex, and she wants to test that popularity with this snap election. The Japanese have been really behind her in standing up to China over the situation in Taiwan. Seems to have a decent relationship with President Trump. And so the equities market really likes this. The bonds, however, that's a different story. Long-term bonds, bondholders are actually worried that this expansionary fiscal policy is going to increase Japan's debts, which is the highest debt to GDP, the highest in the world, although most of that is domestic debt. China announcing the largest trade surplus on planet Earth. They just released these figures. Tariffs not working. In fact, okay. Although trade. Well, I'll say this refer to your point. Trade to the US. So in fact, you're correct, because the exports to the US were down 30% in December alone, down 20% year on year, and still 20% growth, $1.2 trillion. steel, automobiles. I mean, China is just, and also rerouting through other. So they've got, you have like vehicle assembly plants here in Nigeria and other countries, and so they're able to get those into Southeast Asia and other parts and still into the US. But direct exports to the US still done, even with the tariffs, as Rufai just said. For December, it was 114 billion for December alone. There are only 2 other months that are higher than this. I think it was January and June. So just China just continuing to power on when it comes to exports. The United States inflation came in as expected, 2.7% year on year for headline core inflation. When you strip out volatile food and energy, 2.7, in line with forecast, month on month 0.3. So there's a Fed meeting in 2 weeks. Powell and everybody, we're going to see what decision they make. I think people are saying the Trump administration has scored an own goal in trying to bring these criminal charges to him, because now you're getting JP Morgan. In fact, let's jump to JP Morgan now. They released their earnings, they beat earnings, but the stock was still down because their debt underwriting and investment banking revenues were down, but still 46 billion, beating estimates here. Net income, just net income coming in about 13 billion. Their net interest margin that they've projected for full 2026. I mean, look at this. This is larger than like economies of Latvia or Senegal or Estonia. I mean, 103 billion in net interest margin, which is the difference between the interest that they earn on loans and the interest they pay out on accounts. But Jamie Dimon has come out against the prosecution of Jerome Powell. Also, Trump is trying to cap interest rates on credit cards. He's getting pushback on that. I think everybody's just saying it's just desperation for the midterms. And then, I think you've already touched on this. UAE and Nigeria signing this trade deal to reduce tariffs on their respective goods that they export to each other. Also for individuals who want to start businesses there, extended business visits, so on and so forth. And then stock market still powering 1.5% gain yesterday. 165 points is where we are with the all-share index. We're up 6.5%, and we're not even in February yet. That's our update.
And mind you, I just have to also say this because I've been getting a lot of calls. People are saying, yes, the stock market is doing nowhere. Please ask your advisors before you buy stocks. It's not that every stock that you buy will appreciate in the market too. Of course, this is a general, because I know some, I don't want to mention the names of those stocks. I know some stocks that their rates has been the same for the last 5-10 years.
You mean the price, right?
The price.
You have to be careful, of course.
So I don't want to give the honorable mention.
Call your advisor, assess your risk tolerance for invest.
But as regards to what Trump is doing, you can see he's up in the world system. At first, all the things he has done has not worked largely. The tariff that you felt he was going to use to append China, not working. China is gaining a great trade surplus about it. Then you're going toward unnecessary geopolitical wars. You've gone into Venezuela, all for nothing. The math does not add up, and that's what the Chevron guys are saying. We will not put in our money into this. You are saying over 100 billion. For oil that they are selling for $22 per barrel almost for free, it will cost you about $88 to be able to get a barrel out of the ground. So for every time you even sell the oil, you're losing 1 to 4. And you think this will sail through. Then you go Jerome Powell. Then you try to upend the market by questioning the integrity based on a lie. And Jerome Powell had called you out on the lie live on television.
Chaos everywhere.
Well, big lessons to take away from China, but I mean, China is always schooling us, right? But I think the biggest message here is manufacturing matters. Manufacturing matters because even if the United States are making it difficult trade, you pivot, you send to EU, you send to the ASEAN markets, you strengthen that. Now, this is also, of course, on the back of weakened domestic supply, domestic consumption, So there was extra that needed to be pushed out. So that dynamic is also important to take note of. But bring back into the conversation, that fear about, the end of the dollar hegemony becomes more and more real when we see statistics such as this, when we know that the cross-border receipts over 52%. We haven't seen the most recent numbers for 2025. They're settled in RMB, in Chinese yuan. So, that, and you're looking at now the biggest exporter in the world, and the balance of that, it's obvious that Donald Trump will attack anything that's coming at him. Right now, it's a lot, but it's especially BRICS related that is contending with the dollar hegemony.
Again, like 2 days ago.
Yes. Now he's going to go into Iran as well. It's all about attacking that dollar hegemony attack.
some extra background to the Greenland story, which is historical, dating back to Henry Kaufman, the ambassador of Denmark to the United Nations by the end of the Cold War, of the World War II, 1930 to 1945. It was Kaufman who has featured in one film called The Good Traitor, who signed a treaty with the United States. Because on April 2nd, 1941, during World War II, Germany had seized Greenland. And Kaufman unilaterally then decided to go and seek America's protection. America, at that time, wanted the aluminium that was in that region. But because he acted unilaterally, Kaufman was treated as a traitor. And then, of course, much later, he was then rehabilitated in the 1950s as a minister without a portfolio. When Denmark was, the Allied forces were able to defeat Germany, and then Denmark became free in 1945. But the economic interest of the United States is a basic thing beyond that story, which is, a region that is very rich in mineral resources. And America does not want Russia or China to have a foothold in that region. However, the big fear, is what may well be the collapse of NATO alliance as a result of the selfish interests of the United States. Now, you talked about the commodities, the precious metals doing well.
Favorites.
It's not just the precious metals that are doing well. Oil is also doing well. Because of Iran. If America attacks Iran as it is threatening, saying that we're not ruling out military action, then of course the Strait of Hormuz will be affected and it will go up. And people are buying precious metals because they need to hedge their bets. They need to avert risk. As for Powell, it's been supported by former central bank governors and officials, Kaufman, Bernard Bernanke, Janet Yellen, and also by global central bankers who are saying that if you do this to Powell, it may affect inflation and may also have implications for the independence of the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is a bipartisan position in Congress.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lotus, we'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Dr. Ulisa Agbakuba, SAN, former president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In the beating heart of Ori, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodinma's leadership has turned manifestos into reality, transformations that feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace, and in Imo, it's not left to chance. From land to sky to river deep, Guardians are watching, protecting dreams and opportunity. At Orashi's quiet shore, hydropower is rising, set to energize a growing economy. The change is visible. New roads emerge, industry hums, communities come alive. At the center, a digital revolution. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build the future. As Orashi rises, so does Imo and the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think ZIF. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service, Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
I am the chef of life.
Huh? Mr. Chef, it's a two-finger crush.
Pass me the chicken and
I am the chef of life.
With Mr. Chef, a simple crush turns meals into culture and moments into memories.
the true taste of home
and culture.
Chef of life.
Africa's biggest gaming conference, Age 2026, is coming. The ultimate convergence of innovators, operators, regulators, investors, and creators, redefining gaming across the continent. Experience immersive exhibitions, thrilling competitions, and powerful insights on sports betting, lotteries, casinos, slots, and fintech, all in one place. This is where ideas ignite opportunities. And Africa steps boldly onto the global stage under the theme Africa's Gaming Market, Frontier to Prominence. Join us March 4th to 27th, 2026 at the AKO Convention Center, Lagos, Nigeria, to experience 4 unforgettable days of innovation, inspiration, and impact. Register now on www.ageafrique.org/register. Whether you're a regulator, operator, game developer, fintech, or an investor, this is where Africa's gaming revolution unfolds. Don't just watch the future, be part of it.
Welcome back to the morning show. Here on Arise News, renowned lawyer Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, SAN, has raised the alarm over what he described as a worsening medical negligence crisis in Nigeria, calling for an immediate and comprehensive overhaul of the country's health regulatory framework. The former president of the Nigerian Bar Association said the death of Nkanu, the 21-month-old son of Nigerian author Chimamanda Adichie and her husband, Ivara Esege, must offer an opportunity to reform the health system in Nigeria. He made mark 2 separate occasions, including calling for a probe into the death of the toddler. Also, the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, ordered a probe into the alleged medical negligence that reportedly led to the death of Master Nkanu. Joining us to discuss the unacceptable incompetence present in some Nigerian healthcare facilities, how we can strengthen Nigeria's regulatory frameworks, enhance professional accountability, and ensure that victims of malpractice have access to justice, is Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, SAN, former president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Good morning, Dr. Agbakoba, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Good morning. Thank you. Morning. Thank you very much, Robert.
Okay.
Happy New Year to you too.
Yes.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year.
Please.
Dr. Agbakoba, 2 quick things.
Good to see
The
you.
first is, this is a coroner's case. If a person dies in a hospital, public or private, within 24 hours, the expectation is that the coroner will move in.
Yes.
Now, already, there's a story, there was an overdose of propofol used for anesthesia.
Yes.
Now, who arrived at that conclusion that is in the public domain? Has there been a coroner's effort in this particular case? Do you know that? If not,
Yes.
why has anybody jumped to any conclusion that, this is a case of the failure on the part of the anesthetist? Second, you've been quoted as talking about medical reforms. What kind of medical reforms do you want specifically, do you say, would improve the situation in Nigeria?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, thanks very much. I don't think anyone...
Hello, sir.
So, thanks. Happy New Year to you all in the studio. I'm not sure anyone can say categorically what has happened in respect of Chimamanda's child. But I think she's entitled to say, my child walked into the hospital and came out in a body bag. So it's up to the process to establish what has happened. So she's made a complaint that her child was... So it's good to unpack some of the things that are at least accepted. Chimamanda's child was not feeling well. She had a cold, he had a cold, and therefore they thought it was a normal thing. But when it lingered, they took him to a pediatric hospital I think the pediatricians discovered that there might be some issues, and there was a reference to Eurocare. Eurocare needed to conduct some more critical examination because apparently there was a swelling in the head. So that required an MRI. Now, for a 21-month-old baby to be still in an MRI situation when you go under that thing would be extremely difficult. I've done MRIs so many times. It's claustrophobic. And therefore, the only way to make sure the child would survive the MRI in a way that would have a medically fit result was to sedate. So here comes propanol. But propanol would require to be administered in an extremely careful situation, given its very potent effect. Remember, it's what killed Michael Jackson. So we have what is called the Michael Jackson standard. So I think the issue now would be, having made the allegation by Chimamanda, there's a whole process that is required. You're right to say that a coroner's inquest would have to be ordered. The coroner's inquest has something preceding it. There's a chief pathologist of Lagos State. He would, in spite of I would assume that the hospital would have conducted cause of death examination by a pathologist. But in my experience, the chief pathologist of Lagos would require to conduct a joint pathology to determine cause of death, where the family might even appoint its own pathologist so that that can be established. But basically, when that is established, it then leads to the second stage, the coroner's inquest. The coroner's inquest would now give the reasons for death, like in the case of Beju Boma, where the coroner found the hospital liable, who then proceeded to the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria, and we were successful. And then we took the case to the High Court, and at that point, the hospital, agreed to settle. So that's the framework that, is on ground. So the question is, the hospital, having announced that they've done some internal procedures, I'm a bit surprised that they are taking a bit of time, because it's very easy to establish what has happened. First of all, is to determine that there was a checklist, and the intensivist would have to be on ground, somebody who deals with the flow of, because the problem with intubating a child of that age is that the air path might be blocked. So you've got to be something very carefully monitored. You've got to be looking at all the parameters, all the vitals, to make sure that the child is stable. And when you move the child from MRI to ICU, that's another difficult challenge. So all these things we need to hear from the hospital when they issue their reports. But what Chimamanda's case has done is to highlight what goes on every day. I mean, last year I probably did about 20 odd cases in this field. All sorts of things happen. And therefore, what I think needs to be done, apart from just punishing, Zubi found that the hospital was culpable. It's not enough. You might punish, you might do this, but it's a multi-layered approach that is required. And that's where we come to the laws and regulatory environment relating to medical issues. It might surprise you to know that the last chief medical officer for Nigeria was Sir Samuel Bawa, who retired in 1976. Now, what the chief medical officer of the country does is responsible for clinical governance. So his own office, separate from the minister, that administers all the inspections, standard setting, and every issue related to the type of concern we see and the types of complaints that are coming out of the hospitals. There is no chief medical officer. The minister of, the federal minister of health is the chief medical officer. He can't do that. He can't do policy and clinical supervision. Here in Lagos, we have about 5 chief medical officers.
If I may interject,
but there's no central. Yes.
As you're speaking on regulatory framework, let me just add a layer to it so you can speak to everything holistically. Yesterday, we had Professor Roberts on the program who spoke the fact that, well, even if there are doctors who are, or medical practitioners, excuse me, that are challenged with regards to, you know, suspected cases of negligence and malpractice and so forth, that ultimately the regulatory framework is so weak that people will still go to who they want to go to. People can still parade as medical practitioners, and they will still have willing customers or willing patients who are happy to be treated by them. What is your take on this? The regulatory environment, how much is being done to ensure that those who have been proven to have been involved in instances of negligence, of malpractice, that they do not practice? Or do we kind of just leave everything to a higher power, as we tend to do in the African continent?
That's exactly my point. For instance, the regulatory supervision for erring doctors is controlled by the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria. But that council is opaque. It's only consisted of doctors. They are underfunded. So the results are very poor. It takes forever to get a result. So nobody gets punished. That's the point. There's no punishment. I would recommend the UK practice where you have a general medical council. They must conclude investigations and issue a report within 90 days. Here I've seen cases where it takes 5 years to issue a verdict on an erring doctor. So the whole place is just open. There's no regulation. Anybody can do anything. There's another big problem that's coming in the field of medical ethics, Botoxing and all sorts, all over in Lekki. People are dying every day, particularly young girls, who go to get injected. That's another problem. So the only way to resolve this problem is to have a very strong regulatory framework driven by a doctor, and that doctor is usually called the chief medical officer. At the federal level, he will be inserted into the system. The minister would deal with policy and politics. Lagos State ought to have a chief medical officer, not 5 or 6. So that doctor focuses very strictly all the that you've raised.
Okay. Good to see you again, Dr. Abubakar, and Happy New Year to you. So I'm happy.
Hello, Happy New Year.
Very, very well. I'm happy that you made mention of Chef Peju Oguma's case. So I'm happy about that because we were part of that case, and the role, we played out here on that case. So it's also music to my ears that you said the hospital settled, right? In the end.
Yeah, but I was in the case.
Okay, so the hospital.
I was in the case.
The hospital settled.
I was the lead in the case.
Very good.
Yes.
What happened to the doctors that were found complicit? Have they lost their license? Is there any penalty on that?
To be honest, I don't know. That's part of the opaqueness I'm describing. I have absolutely no idea. One of them who took part in the surgery came from Umuahia, Federal Medical Center. He arrived into Lagos on Friday, took part in the surgery on Saturday, and disappeared to Umuahia. And the coroner said, "What sort of rubbish is this?"
So that means that doctor, for instance, is still back practicing in Umuahia. So you can see the problem.
In Saudi Arabia.
Oh, he has
It's in Saudi Arabia now.
So he has been jackpot now.
It's in Saudi Arabia. Absolutely.
So you can see that. And other doctors that participated in that surgery that mismanaged Chef Peju Oguma, I'm probably sure that nothing happened to them.
Yes.
Okay, one of them, we can see that one of the hook knives in Saudi Arabia,
That's it.
nothing happens to them. So
yes,
it now goes back to my question that even when we go to court, what justice do we even get in cases of medical negligence? Because if you say the hospital settled, probably paid the husband of Chef Peju Oguma some money. But the real doctors that perpetrated the acts, they can jolly well go live their life. So what justice do we get in the end? Because the true justice will be that those doctors, for instance, should be flagged and never be able to perform for a certain duration of time or stiffer penalty, but they went off the hook. So what justice are we going to get?
agree. No, but I agree with you. That's why I'm saying that the medical dental council of Nigeria is in need of massive reform. The way it is structured is opaque. It's only comprised of doctors. In the UK, the GC is set up of doctors, lay people, legal practitioners, and the sanctions are imposed and implemented. Here, I don't know how many doctors really get off, lose their licenses when there is a decision. So why I'm calling for a reform is to say also that if a doctor is reprimanded and sanctioned, that penalty must be carried out. That's not happening now.
So can we stretch it? If that penalty is not being carried out because regulatory agencies are not doing their work, can we then institute a new suit and charge those doctors for culpable homicide or manslaughter or murder?
Yeah, there are two things here. There is the institutional process and there's the family process. So the family is entitled to raise an issue with the disciplinary body. In Nigeria, it would be the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria. Where the state comes in is the coroner's inquest. So the governor of Lagos State, really doesn't have the power to institute a probe, but I'm sure he did it in good faith. So what we want to see now is institutional process by the coroner's inquest. Then the family would usually take the report of the coroner's inquest and that of the MDCN, put it together and file a personal action to claim for compensation. So these are the three-pronged processes that we have. But in my view, all the processes these three I've described, maybe apart from the coroner's inquest, because in the Meju Boma's case, it was absolutely brilliant. But the MDCN, it requires complete overhaul. You need to put timelines. In the UK, under the GMC, it's a 90-day process. They must finish the investigation, deliver a verdict in 90 days. Yes. Dr.
Agbakoba, I get your point. You want appointment of a chief medical officer who will see processes, discipline, patient safety, and all of that, provide a policy framework. Now, in a country where we have the kind of situation we have, how do you think that just creating that bureaucracy, reviving it, will solve the problem? We have a Accountant General of the Federation. We have an Auditor General of the Federation. We have all these positions. I don't want to add the office of the Attorney General. But Nigerians have issues with all of this. So what is the guarantee that creating an office would solve most of our problems? I get your point about regulatory framework, but in a health sector where there is no infrastructure, where half of the doctors are running abroad, nurses are fleeing, everybody is distracted. How do you think just having a chief medical officer solve the problem? Briefly.
No, but there's the Abuja Declaration, there's the African Union requirement, there's the World Health Authority requirement that 15% of the national budget should be devoted to the healthcare sector. Right now, we're doing about 4%. So that's all of the problem. You've got to put money. If you want this country to be healed and well, you've got to fund the place. If you don't fund it, we'll have sick people and we'll have quacks. So to say that we should just sit, because your question is implying we should just do nothing, I don't agree. We ought to do something, in all sectors. Nigeria is suffering a governance issue. Look at what's happening in River State between Wike and Fubara. Is that in the interest of the people? So it's all interlinked and interrelated. You have political people who have no interest in Nigerians. They're only interested when it comes to elections. So everyone is now focused on 2027. After 2027, they run away. That's not right now. That's why we have all this mess. So the health sector today is an issue, and sadly, it takes the death of Chimamanda's daughter, son, to bring to the fore. People have been dying every day. Every day. We see, I'm just dealing with the case now where a woman walks into the hospital with her husband to deliver a bouncing baby and the baby dies on the table.
In fact, there's a case.
What do you say to that?
In fact, there's a case, doctor in Sokoto, of somebody that forgot a scissors in her stomach and she died.
Very common.
A recent case.
It's happening. So I'm not interested in whether, Ruben, you say that it will not work. Let us first put the system in place and see whether it will work or not. So that's the issue. My main point is that the governance problem, the governance issue needs to be reformed in the medical sector. Funding up to 15% of the budget needs to be put in place. Even if it doesn't work, too bad, then we'll just continue killing ourselves.
On that note.
But that's not the right thing to do.
On that note, thank you very much, Dr. Ulisa Agbakoba, SAN. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to Samuel Aruwan, public affairs analyst and pioneer commissioner for internal security and home affairs in Kaduna State. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do your style, show your smile. Do your future, show your tutor. Do your stream, share your dream. Do your passion, share your fashion. Do your aim, show your game. Do your friendship, share your time. Do your life, make it true. With Glow YouTube.
Do you 250 Naira for 5 hours, 600 Naira for 14 hours. Dial *312#.
With Glow YouTube bundles. Do you?
Unlimited. In this life, it's what you do behind that shows in front.
Give us the fire. Tell us more. It's Cosmo or nothing. Luxury or not. This is Cosmo.
Why I roll with Cosmo deodorant. No sweat, no stains, no odor.
Now you know.
Cosmo whitening deodorant.
All day freshness, 7 days a week from GVS Cosmetics.
Buying your Airpeace ticket just got easier with Fidelity Bank. When you book on flyairpeace.com, choose Fidelity payment options and complete your payment effortlessly. With Fidelity Bank, you can pay with transfer, fast, secure, and powered by Fidelity. Buy now, pay later, enjoy flexible payments, and travel stress-free. Book on hold. Lock in your travel plans and pay when you're ready. Whichever you choose, every transaction is quick, seamless, and protected. No stress, no hassle. Just smooth payments every time. Because with Fidelity Bank, flying Airpeace isn't just about getting there, it's about getting there with ease. Fly Airpeace, the Fidelity way. Simple, safe, convenient. Visit flyairpeace.com to get started.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Every winter, the world's most influential people come to Davos to negotiate the future face to face. Money, energy, war, AI, trade, innovation, and all else. Africa will be there as well as Nigeria. The decisions made here will shape what happens to everyone else. As always, Arise has a front row seat, not to admire power, but to interrogate and shape the future. Join me, Rodos Odiri, Rolake Akinkube Filani, and Anise Osakwe. Trust us to be your guide to the 2026 World Economic Forum. Watching closer, listening harder, and translating the moment into what it means for your life. Because the decisions made here don't stay here. They travel into markets, into borders, into prices, into policies. Stay with Arise News in Davos 2026. We're alive, relentless, uncompromising. If it shifts the world, you'll see it first. On the Global News Channel, Arise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now, Nigeria is once again trapped in a familiar and dangerous cycle, confronting a grave national security threat through emotionally charged narratives, partisan framings, and poorly differentiated solutions that blur the line between grievance and criminality. The armed banditry plaguing northern Nigeria, particularly across the northwest and parts of the north central, has generated an avalanche of commentary for and against dialogue with bandits. While supporters of dialogue are often cast as well-intentioned, their opponents frequently argue that such a stance is insensitive to the victims of banditry. Well, let's deepen the discussion as shortly public affairs analyst and pioneer commissioner for internal security and home affairs in Kaduna State, Samuel Aruwan, will join us to discuss how we can rejig Nigeria's banditry crisis from emotional narratives to strategic clarity. But first, let's share with you, our viewers, some pivotal points from Aruwan's incisive and thought-provoking article entitled Reframing Nigeria's Banditry Crisis, from Emotional Narratives to Strategic Clarity. All right, let's dive in. In the article, Aruwan posited, and I quote, banditry in northern Nigeria is neither monolithic nor reducible to a single narrative of grievance. Treating it as such through emotional understanding, ethnic profiling, or indiscriminate calls for amnesty risks legitimizing violent criminal enterprises, emboldening perpetrators, and eroding the state's monopoly over the use of force. He also writes, and he revealed that the early victims of modern banditry were Fulani herders whose cattle were rustled en masse by bandits of the same Fulani extraction. Eventually, these legitimate cattle owners resorted to self-help by also acquiring low-caliber weapons to protect their livestock from being rustled by bandits. Police traditional rulers' interventions failed, and the authorities turned a blind eye, not seeing the dangers ahead and just perceiving the development as usual intra-Fulani herders feud. Well, interestingly, Aruwan revealed in the article that for the Tiv, the Fulani never troubled them by interfering with their way of life. They formed close bonds with each other. In case of any attack by another group, the Fulani would easily repel such an attack. The Tiv marveled at the dexterity with which the Fulani fought and defeated aggressive ethnic groups and nicknamed the Fulani Pu, meaning conqueror in the Tiv language. We continue with more excerpts as he argued that the media's selective framing fuels polarization and obscures the underlying criminal logic that drives violence. Banditry is not tribal nor identity-based violence, but a form of terrorism and criminality perpetrated by criminal elements who must be viewed and treated as such. Ethnic profiling weakens the collective battle against crime, complicates counter-banditry campaigns, and strengthens the bandits' emotional narratives. At its core, contemporary banditry, he writes, is sustained by money. What began as cattle rustling evolved into a sophisticated criminal economy with multiple income streams: ransom payments, cattle sales, arms trafficking, illegal mining, protection levies, forced taxation, mercenary killings, drug peddling, collaboration with transnational criminal networks across borders. Finally, Aruwan said, Nigeria must banditry primarily as a sociological misunderstanding. It is a violent criminal economy and a threat to national security and all the negative consequences earlier discussed. The central lesson from the foregoing is simple. If emotional narratives continue to override intelligence, law, and experience, the country risks repeating the very mistakes that produced its gravest security catastrophes. End of quote. Well, as earlier introduced, the author of that very incisive article is here with us. Let's hear from him directly, as they say, from the horse's mouth. Samuel Aruwan, good morning, sir, and welcome to the morning show today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, Samuel Aruwan, good to see you. Happy New Year to you. Well, an interesting piece that you have written. But let's start from two parts of your commentary. The first is, what you describe as media selective framing, presenting banditry, the bandit economy, the banditry enterprise as along ethnic and religious lines. How guilty are we all, since you are part of the media community too, anyway, And then second, solutions. We should be looking for solutions. You made a number of recommendations. Apart from the alleged guilt of the media, can we focus on concrete solutions? We all know the story. But what do you think Nigeria must prioritize to solve this problem?
Well, thank you for having me. Starting from the solution, what I think is important is for policymakers to really understand what is the problem. And that is why I went in details to explain the whole issue. Now, coming to the solution, the most important thing is to categorize bandits in the two categories that I have mentioned. Those that are aggrieved, those who were or are victims of these criminals, we must identify them and put them on the side. But those who are in banditry, to kidnap for ransom, to rustle cattle, involved in their involvement in drugs peddling, arms trafficking, subjecting citizens to so many excruciating situations. They are essentially criminals, and they are threats to national security and stability. And the laws of the country or the laws of the land have means or ways through which those who are threats to national security should be treated in that regard. Then, secondly, I also talk about the issue of collaboration and understanding the problem. Intelligence, we are not short of intelligence. We have adequate intelligence, real-time intelligence, available intelligence. We have a lot of information. What is required for the security forces, the intelligence agencies, and other critical stakeholders is to have a clear-cut operations and deals with that issue. Another matter has to do with the narrative. I'll still come back to the narrative. Why I said I have to come back to the narrative is we can't have different definitions of banditry. We must have common definition. And the common definition is there by virtue of the act, is there by virtue of action. Anybody who kidnapped, anyone who rustle cattle, who engage in other heinous crimes that threat to national security, like I said, the laws have spelled out the action that should be carried out in managing that issue. So for now, these are some of the solutions that I've talked about. I also talk about the fact that in some communities, there are members of the communities who have become like a middleman, people through bandits get access to funds. I said I recommended that those practices should be dismantled. And above all, finances is very critical. The logistics, because bandits need fuel to operate, move from one direction to another direction, from 10 kilometers to 20 or 50 kilometers. So the logistic component that comprises their logistic needs as well as finances, these are some of the issues that I have said in the solution that we need to dismantle most of these things. We also need to strengthen the justice system. We also need to strengthen security participatory, we need to strengthen what I would call security participatory system where everybody will be incorporated, in locations where having this complex issue. Then you also talk about the issue of the media. I made it very clear. I did not generalize. I'm a journalist myself, and I am also a student of mass communication at the moment. What I'm saying is this: the media is very critical. The media is very strategic. What people consume or what people hear is what will form the basis of their decision. Banditry must be divorced or separated from ethnicity and religion. Banditry must be seen within the prism of the fact that it is criminality. It is a terrorism going by what they have done. And if you look at the consequences, if you look at what banditry has caused northern Nigeria, there's no difference with what designated terrorist organizations have done. For instance, looking at the Northwest and the North Central, threat to education is a big threat. This is a region that is battling with enrollment, but as a result of banditry, it has affected enrollment. You also look at the food security. You also look at the consequences of banditry on healthcare service delivery. You look at the collapse of rural economy. You also look at the fact that this banditry has made it very difficult for expansion of infrastructure across the region. I will give you one example. It may sound controversial, but then I know what I am saying. In the states that are battling banditry, there is hardly a public school. There is hardly a public school whose science student can credit English, mathematics, physics, biology, and chemistry unaided, with exception of some public schools in maybe Kwara, or Plateau, or part of Niger. So you can see the consequences. So it means that the future, as far as education is concerned, is bleak. So the consequences of banditry is such that we can't take for granted, just like we have taken some signs, some early warnings in previous crises like Boko Haram, Metatini, that turned out to be a very big problem. So my argument is the media must be detailed to divorce identity from criminals. And if we are dealing with criminals on the basis of identity, it will be very cumbersome and so ambiguous to take them on.
Okay, that point is duly noted. You've said a number of things, and I think you've also chimed into something I said earlier, which is around sort of there are several philosophies around ungoverned spaces. And I read another one of your articles, specifically the one around disarmament of bandits during dialogue. And you're saying that, well, in essence, these people took up arms because they wanted to defend themselves. The place is ungoverned, there's no government presence. What Mbembe would call necropolitics, those spaces where alternate forces over where there's a vacuum of power and governance. So in this framing, I'm not sure, I'm not sure we can reconcile media reporting with the fact that there are certain regions where certain activities are happening, whether they be inter-communal or whether they be between different communities. So I'd still like you to further unpack, because it's not clear how, if media is to remove reporting on the profile of the individuals perpetuating these crimes, how that makes the crime go away.
Well, I think we are mixing up a lot of things, and I have made my point that a section of the media, if you are dealing with a problem and there is ethnic profiling, it will be very, very difficult to manage that situation. But if you are dealing with a problem, you are looking at the actions of individuals who are perpetrating that very menace, and you take on them, definitely you will have a mileage. Look at the insurgency.
Sorry, if I may just reinforce my point. Let me just reinforce the point. Some people even argue that we've gotten deeper into this insurgency crisis because there's a period of time that we went from calling them terrorists and suddenly we began to whitewash them and we started calling them bandits when we're still largely with terrorists. There's a period where media was full, there was a cleanup, if I may say, of the language to be used, and we stopped saying terrorists. Suddenly we started reporting on bandits and insurgents, only now to discover that we're still reporting largely on the same group of terrorists. In fact, there's even a nexus between terrorism and criminality, that being which is ideology driven and that which is just based purely off of self-interest and pursuit of wealth.
Before you call to me, I was trying to give an example with the insurgency in the Northeast. The way and manner the government, the security forces are carrying out the insurgency and terrorism in the Northeast, it is not on the basis of ethnicity, because we know the majority of the terrorists belong to a particular ethnic group. But there is no story, there is no media narrative linking the ethnicity of the non-state actors and their terrorism. So what I'm saying is this: why do you come up with phrases like Birom militia, or Fulani militia, or Muslim militia, or Christian militia? Take on the action. When you take on the action, there is no cover. But once you include identity in encountering a particular problem, it will be very, very difficult to be ambiguous. The magnitude of the problem will be reduced to politicking around ethnicity, around religion, and other inclinations, while the main problem fester, while we continue to suffer, while that problem continue to become a threat to national security. So what I'm saying is the media should report these problems based on the actions of the individuals that are involved in the problem. And that is why I went further to categorize, to say that when you come up with a problem in managing banditry, there will be a problem. And the same thing, when you are also looking at the problems from the non-family group, when you also bring up an issue of identity, there will be a problem. So let's look at bandits. I have been able to prove that when this banditry started, it started with the legitimate cattle owners who are of Fulani extraction. And government authorities at that time did not really give it an attention. It was perceived, it was seen as just an intra-Fulani problem. Later on, it extended to the Hausa community. And from there, that is where we have the emergence of the volunteers, popularly known as Ensakai or Mbanga. And they exacerbated the problem.
Okay. Mr. Aaron, if you can hear me.
Yes.
I totally disagree with you. What you're trying to come here to say is that we should do propaganda, and that's not the media I learned. The first questions in media is what, when, how, and these questions are questions around profile. So it's part of propaganda, and I don't blame you for spewing propaganda because you work with government, and that was the propaganda which people used to placate these terrorists and pamper them with peace deals that didn't work. You guys signed peace deal with them. The current government, Kaduna, is signing peace deal with them. Katsina is signing peace deal with them. It has never worked. So you cannot tell us the kind of placating narrative and consolidation of the failure of the state in all of this by telling us how to pamper them. If somebody is a criminal, you profile the person. Your age, your race, your sex, and this is what the person did. So that's number one, settled. Number two, I want to ask you about these deals. You served in the government that went into the bush, talked to these people. I remember your role then. And in fact, I would say Happy New Year's to you, because you used to be a regular feature on this program many years ago when in the thick of all of this. And kudos to you for the good job you did then. People had peace deals with them, but these criminals still continue their atrocious activities. In fact, they've been emboldened. God only knows how many cycles of peace deals you've had. Is that the best approach, or to fight them head on? And I'm asking because same plate your government played then, this government in Kaduna is playing, it doesn't solve the problem. Katsina too doesn't solve the problem.
Well, Rufai, thank you very much, and Happy New Year's, like you said. Well, if you look at my argument, there is nowhere that I suggest that bandits who are killing people, who are committing all sorts of atrocities that are threats to national security should be pampered. There is also nowhere that I said that there's nowhere in my argument that suggests that the media should be hoodwinked into a propaganda. What I am saying is this: there are legitimate cattle owners who are of Fulani extensions, who are also victims of banditry. And there are cases where many of them, after the criminals committed a crime, the communities are angry, or the communities are aggrieved. Any other person whose ethnic affinity can be linked with that of the criminals, is made to suffer the consequences of self-help. This is the bottom line of my argument. Now, if you go deep towards the end of my article, and even on this platform, I also made it very clear that criminals who are killing people, criminals who are kidnapping for ransom, have constituted an economy of banditry. They have streams of so many activities. And I make it clear here that the laws of the country, should deal with that act of theirs. So there's nowhere that I am suggesting that this bandit should be pampered.
Okay, Samuel Arua. I'll just make a statement and then you can react to it. I think the multicultural, pluralistic society, very complex society like Nigeria, it would be very difficult to discount the value of identity politics. There's an area of academic theory, inquiry, that is called identity politics. And so these persons, when you observe the trend and all of that, the selective framing that you talk about, you can't really, remove it from identity, which is the main thing at the center of Nigerian politics. Whether it was the Civil War, or it was a crisis in the Middle Belt, or even this latest development of Christian, Muslim, characterization of conflict in Nigeria. So do you really think that you can discount identity politics in this kind of society? Or even elsewhere, whether it's Rwanda or it's Ghana or anywhere else, even Bosnia, Herzegovina, Eastern Europe?
Yeah, well, if we fail to divorce identity, if we fail to divorce narratives of identity that are inimical to national security and stability, then we'll continue to have a problem. In countries like Rwanda, where the politics of ethnicity was order of the day, we all saw what happened. We all saw the culmination in starting from April 1994 in Rwanda. But if you look at the Rwandan case, for instance, Dr. Abati, I do tell some of my friends with whom we do have engagement on conflict that genocide in 1994 in Rwanda did not actually start in 1994. It started many, many years ago. But the least we can make reference to is the 1990, the 10 commandments of the Hutus, which clearly set out, the sequence, that led to the genocide. And what we saw, the genocide, was culmination. So to link it back to what I am saying, if Nigerians will continue to look at issues that are threat to national security from prism of religion, prism of ethnicity, and other political consideration, then we will not be able to get out of the wood. But if we are going to look at issues from their own merit, if someone is a threat to national security, if there is a certain misnomer, something that is abnormal, we should be able to take it on. We should be able to nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. But if we continue to allow, if we continue to use identity in the negative way, we will continue to be in a very difficult situation that we are, and we will not be able to get out of the wood.
Okay. Well, for your contribution. Just as a side note for Rwanda, it is argued that even with policies that say they shouldn't discuss tribe, that there's still allegations that one group or ethnicity is dominant over another, and it represents those who are in the nexus of power. So it just goes to tell you that removing identity from the narrative does not solve those fundamental issues that we face in nation building. But we thank you so much for your time and your contribution, Mr. Samuel Aruwan. It's now time for a short break. When we return.
So the Super Eagles are right now in Rabat, Morocco, for the most important game of this Africa Cup of Nations, the final before the final. Let's go on this journey from Marrakesh to Rabat to attend the semi-final games against the Atlas Lions of Morocco.
Algeria doesn't make happen?
Oh, yes. The road to the final before the final. Arise Sports correspondent Aaron Akere, live in Morocco, will preview tonight's epic semi-final clash between Nigeria and the host country. Do stay with us.
As far as your eye can see, you can own it. Built on integrity, surrounded by nature, a place where you feel alive. With golf course, amusement park, artificial lake, sports centers, residential and commercial spaces. Be among the first to invest for greater returns in a new lifestyle. Hutu exclusive. Live, play, relax. Invest today.
In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Noho's of Ima's leadership has turned manifestos into reality, transformations that feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace, and in Imo, it's not left to chance. From land to sky to river deep, Guardians are watching, protecting dreams and opportunity. At Orashi's quiet shore, hydropower is rising, set to energize a growing economy. The change is visible. New roads emerge, industry hums, communities come alive. At the center, a digital revolution. 500,000 young minds train each year to build the future. As Orashi rises, so does Imo and the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
In most parts of the world, girl child are not recognized in a family. I hope all this problem holding down a girl child did not hold me down.
The idea behind the project is to identify schools that the parents are not economically empowered to sponsor their children to schools.
In demonstration of our commitment to reducing that, we
here today to provide some of the essentials that we believe would help the children in school. We worked with different schools in 5 states across the country, and we reached out to 15,000 children.
I want to be a good scientist, and Polaris Bank is helping me realize this dream. I'm perfectly excited.
From the savannah to the shore, we stand as one. Under one flag till the rising sun. Duty in our hearts, courage in our name. We got the land through fire and rain. Defenders of the homeland, standing strong and for the peace of tomorrow. For you and me, with honor and faith, we answer the call. Nigeria, shield. We will not fall.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with the woman that makes all the things happen in Fidelity Bank, the MD of Fidelity Bank.
FNRTC was conceptualized in 2022, and the whole idea was to create a platform where our exporters with the global community are able to showcase their products. What we do in the banking industry is to always try to meet the needs of our customers, and we could see that the exporters were struggling with. They didn't have a global stage on which to showcase that. We did so much initially, capacity building. After that, the products were made, were put in proper quality, packaging, and that. So the next step, naturally, is to take it to the global stage, especially if you focus on making world-class products.
Like they say, build it and they will.
Yes, so they're about it. Build it and they will come.
All right, ma'am.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Well, back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for an update on sports stories from across the globe, Aaron Akerejola is bringing us this report from Morocco on the journey to the AFCON final.
Eagles are right now in Rabat, Morocco, for the important game of this Africa Cup of Nations, the final before the final. Let's go on this journey from Marrakesh to Rabat to attend the semi-final game against the Atlas Lions of Morocco. As the train cuts through Morocco's landscape, the story of this team mirrors the journey. Moments of turbulence, pauses, doubts, and renewed momentum. Every mile brings the final closer. Every mile raises a stake. And one man feels it higher than others. The vice captain and the talisman of the team, Victor Osimhen.
I have so many people that actually believe in me, knowing fully well that if I go to a game and we score 1 or 2 or 3 goals, they believe so much in me. And for me, it's not the same when you be on the pitch. The time you can have all the opportunities and lose everything. Most of the time you can be playing a game and just see 3 opportunities and you get 3 goals. So for me, these people are the ones that also for me, trying to give everything also in the next game.
As we take this particular journey from Marrakesh to Rabat, I'm being joined by a group of journalists who I will be finding out from what they think about the game between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Atlas Lions of Morocco. Some are even calling it the final before the final. Talking about the semi-finals on Wednesday. Let's get to meet them. I will start it off with Chris from Making of Champions. Chris, you want to say, what do you think?
It's going to be a tough game, Aaron, because, see, we are already feeling in the air. So many Moroccans are already talking about the semi-finals. It's a final before the final. I expect the whole stadium to be bouncing, to be all red in color. I'm hoping we're going to surmount that test and win the game.
Make the referees just know
do anything go make the game no pure. If the game no pure, that's the referee no pure, then Nigeria would struggle.
Said against Algeria, it was like 80% Algerians inside the stadium against Nigerians. We came out 2-0 victorious. So definitely they are ready to play against the 12th man who are going to be the fans and the referee. So it's going to be a victory for us.
Well, interesting to see exactly what has happened thus far. But I think the Super Eagles have shown that they can face off. In terms of quality of play, they are clearly the best. And then in terms of on and off field antics, they were able to handle the Algerians. But like Morocco is going to be a different ball game.
Don't expect anything less. I mean, the synergy is something that is in the dream world for a lot of teams, and we don't expect anything less. And let's not forget there's an Akko Adams who also, if he comes to the party, can also cause some disruption to the Moroccans. So let's go. Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Nigeria and Morocco meet in the high-stakes AFCON 2025 semi-finals in Rabat, a clash that promises intensity, history, and tactical intrigue. The Super Eagles arrive undefeated, 5 wins on the spin and 14 goals scored, the most prolific return in a single tournament. Morocco, playing at home, are unbeaten too, and both tournament's top scorer, Brahim Diaz, combining home support with defense solidity. Historically, this is only the second AFCON semi-final meeting between these sides, with Morocco holding the edge in head-to-head results. Tactically, Nigeria may adopt a disciplined approach to counter Morocco's technical play, targeting swift transitions and clinical finishing to unlock a host defense. With a place in the finals at stake, the heavyweight shoulder at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium is poised to deliver drama, rivalry, and perhaps a defining moment for both nations.
Once again, we've gotten to the semi-finals of AFCON. You know, this one is not AFCON of 8 teams, 16 teams, 24 teams. And aside Mali, all the quarterfinalists were AFCON winners. You know, so we should put our chest and go and pray. You know, just keep praying for the next game. But still be thinking of the finals. We have a very tough game against the host Morocco, who also wants to win. You know, so we should pray and see how we can do our extreme in ensuring that victory is ours.
The team will play as one united team, you know, unity of purpose, sense of vision reigning through them, and a determination to, you know, fly the Nigerian flag and lift the cup. So I pray that Nigeria, I urge Nigerians to continue to support the team, even at critical stages. So I will urge Nigerians, in all circumstances, come rain, come shine, it is our team. We must continue to support them. We've touched down in Rabat this evening for the autumn between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Atlas Lions of Morocco in what will be an opportunity to play in 2025 finals of the Africa Cup of Nations here in Morocco. The Moulay Abdallah Stadium will be hosting this massive encounter. They are in high spirits and the task ahead. Destiny calls. The big question is, will they answer?
Okay, that's Aaron Akerijola there in Morocco. And we look forward to the match of the Super Eagles Day against Morocco, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. And we hope that Nigeria will triumph as expected. We'll take a break now. Here on the morning show, still to come, 2 musical stars, Davido and Chris Brown, to drop joint project. Details shortly in What's Trending with Anieze Osakwe. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If I speak English, you know what? I know what you.
Hi, baby girl. Hello.
know. I've missed you.
Why text when you can talk? With Glow Talk Master 646. You get all the time you need to catch up with friends and loved ones. Free with Glow Talk Master. Talk for 6 minutes and get 6 minutes free. Plus 50 MB data. Simply dial *606#. New Glow subscribers also enjoy an extra 2,000 Naira data and airtime welcome bonus. That's right. Every time you make up to 6 minute calls a day, you get 6 free minutes plus 50 MB data. Simply dial *606# now to enjoy Glow Master. That's right, 50 MB free data to connect and share as you please.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectation. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now with stories trending around the world is Anieze Osakwe. Good morning, Annie.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
Good to be with all of you.
See you as well.
Absolutely. So good morning to everyone out there. Thank you all for starting your day with us. And we begin what's trending with reactions to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's revelation on Tuesday that come next month, Nigeria will host a global investment platform called Investopedia in collaboration with the UAE. Now, the president made this known from the UAE while speaking during this year's 2026 Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week. And according to the president, the idea behind Investopedia is to bring together investors, policymakers, business leaders to bring their investments and ideas to life. Let's watch.
As we open this new chapter, Nigeria will proudly co-host Investopedia in February in Lagos with United Arab Emirates. This global company will bring together investors, innovators, policymakers, business leaders to turn opportunity into commitment and ideas into investment. We warmly invite our partners to join us and help build the next chapter of a sustainable and shared prosperity for Nigeria.
So also on Tuesday, Nigeria concluded on EPA, or the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with the UAE, to increase trade between both countries while also allowing duty-free access to Nigerian products into the UAE. So I'll take some quick reactions before coming to you, Vimbai. Shima on Twitter wrote, "This is excellent news. More economic cooperation, please. No nation develops as an island, let alone to succeed." Then we have Daniel who said, "Nigeria does not need another investor conference. We need power, security, policy, stability, and rule of law. No investor fixes a country that won't fix itself." And then our final tweet says, "It's one thing for Nigerian products to have duty-free access to the UAE market, but the issue that would limit this opportunity would be the products meeting the stringent quality standards required to actually enter the UAE market. This is where a lot of Nigerian products fail." And by taking these stories together, yesterday we were asking where the president was. He's in the UAE. This agreement has been signed, conference has been announced, but people are still saying, no, power, security, affordable food, these are the issues that we should be dealing with.
So yesterday when we spoke about the president's outing in Abu Dhabi, I specifically had brought up this KEPA agreement, which was initiated at Nigeria's participation in the same conference in 2025. So it was something that had been lingering for a year. Good to see that delay was not denial. A year later, the agreement has been signed. But the conversation that we have had on this table this morning stems around of the concerns that are being shared on social media, which is number one, if it took 1 year for the deal to be signed, how long will it take for it to be implemented? And how long will it take for us to start bearing fruits from it? Well, they're saying this in Investopedia conference will be brought to Nigeria. That is the beginning of us bearing fruits. But fine, we'll invite people to Nigeria. How ready are we for investment? As the president said, Nigeria is open for business. How open are we for business? He spoke on the Electricity Act 2023, which is supposed to be a place, a source of investment into the power sector as we continue to privatize and decentralize our power infrastructure. But we've already seen some cases, specifically that which has been most publicized, where the attempt for the state to be able to regulate its own electricity and create a pricing structure that they think might be attractive, not just for the consumers, but also for potential investors. They go back and forth. That issue hasn't been settled. So the internal issues, have we dealt with our business environment, ease of doing business? Okay, we've just passed the tax law. So some people might say that that's supposed to take away multiplicity of taxes that have made it difficult for foreign businesses to come in. Other people are arguing and saying, well, KPMG released a report. They've now clarified and said, oh, things have been explained. But spoke to non-resident taxes, which directly affects investors, people outside Nigeria who are not Nigerians. How will they be affected by that? Now, to close, I'd raised another point earlier, which is that when you look at the trade profile between Nigeria and UAE, one of the biggest in terms of value exports from Nigeria to UAE is gold. However, most of it is illicit flows. Most of it is being mined. Don't know by who? Well, let's say we don't officially know by who. It's being smuggled out and it's accepted in Dubai and in other places in the UAE. This deal, considering the value that gold is contributing towards the trade between Nigeria and UAE, what are we doing to formalize what we already know and has been confirmed by the Minister of Solid Minerals as illicit flow of gold? Are we on the ground doing enough to ensure that people who are doing all these illegal mining activities are going to be regulated, that gold is going to contribute to our national profile? And furthermore, the president in his speech spoke about an end to extractive relationships. You can't just be selling this little lumps of gold that are unprocessed, no value addition whatsoever. There's a lot of work for Nigeria to do before these types of agreements can begin to bear fruit. I just hope that we're ready to buckle down and do the work, because as Peter Obi said, will it be a government of press statements, or are we going to see tangible results from some of these agreements?
Very good point. What comes next after these pacts have been signed? But let's now head to Edo State. In a major reversal, Ambrose Ali University students are now free after the Edo State government on Tuesday authorized their release from the Ibaja Correctional Center in Isan Southeast local government area. Now, earlier, the state government had claimed that these people that you see on your screen were involved in protests against insecurity that became violent. But now, the first batch is free, with the state governor, Monday Okpebolo, sending the state's commissioner for education, Dr. Paddy Iyamu, to make this release happen. Now, their release comes as the president of Ambrose Ali's University Student Union was seen in videos released on Tuesday confirming that protests against insecurity last weekend were not organized by the student union government, before then celebrating the governor for getting the students out of jail. Let's watch.
the protest was not organized under the aegis of the Student Union government or the National Association of Nigerian Students. It is quite pitiable that most persons who want to link what has actually transpired to the student community. So we are here to officially debunk that students did not organize any protest. So the Edo State governments want to appreciate intentionality as well in making sure those students are being released as soon as possible.
Boza! And three solid American Boza for the Sabi governor. Boza, and three for the enemy.
Well, yesterday, the Office of the Presidency called the students' release a timely and constructive intervention of the Edo State governor. But all of this was such a quick U-turn from Edo officials, going from no peaceful protester was arrested to releasing students a day after throwing them in jail. And Rufai, I have to come to you because your laughs are, taking over. What's your reaction to this?
Amazing. This country is a cruise. It's vibe. At first, see how deplorable our country has become. Look at this union president. They said the protest was not endorsed by SUG. So it is only SUG endorsed protest that happens in schools, right? So students cannot use their own discretion and go ahead and go and protest. He also said it was not endorsed by NANS. Is it the same NANS that their officials are driving say this everywhere? This country is a joke. But they said they didn't arrest students now. Now students are out. The part of the story, in case you have not heard, is that they said they are foreign people. They came from Russia. You see, those state daughter governor people on a cruise. You see, when a man cannot cry, he laughs. And that's the kind of gallows humor that Nigeria has become. Students protest because of insecurity. A security official shot one of them in the hospital. The security officials managed the protest. It went out of hand. Then there were attacks. They said it was hoodlums. They said it was not students. All of a sudden, they make it 360 now that they are releasing students. Then they get SUG presidents to do a photo op with the governor. And now they are trying to blame some people. Let me even give them another part of the float. Governor Pebolo and your people, please. Maybe you should blame Obaseki and say he's the one too that did this protest. Maybe that's what you should do now. A governor that has not been able to bring security to his states. Is it today people have been protesting Nekpoma axis? Do you remember the time women protested around there because of this same level of insecurity? We've been talking about it for years. All he's concerned about is we'll deliver over 2 million votes to President Tinubu. Real problems. Yes, he has done road. We commend him for that. But real problem, insecurity, solve it. No. And now they will expect us to clap for them for releasing the students. Okay, Atia Bokemena, we clap for you for releasing the students. Applause. But have you solved the insecurity problem? The man that was picked up, that the CCTV camera caught in Ekpo, have they released that man? The couple that was arrested, have they released them? What has been your measure to be able to solve the problem? It's not by trying to go and get a willing wheeler or a willing person as an energy president to come and make a video and say, we have nothing to do with this. No. But in the same country where we arrest students for protesting against insecurity, a state government, Katsina state government, is telling all of us that we can go and die. Are we asking them questions because they wrote a letter so that the court will release bandits, criminals in their custody because they had a peace deal? That's the joke Nigeria has become.
Okay, just a comment about procedure. Yesterday, we discussed this same subject, and we said that the students, 38 of them, or thereabouts, were arraigned at the Benin High Court. And the presiding judge then directed that they should be remanded in the Ubiaja Correction Center. Now, what then happened was that the parents of the affected students went onto the streets of Ekpoma and began to protest. So now the governor, the latest development is the governor now saying, oh, it's not these students who were involved in the protest. There were persons who were sponsored by some person based in Russia. Now, since the governor knows who that person is, should engage the security agencies to say, this is the person sponsoring protests on the streets of Ekpoma. He didn't go that far. He didn't name the person. We would like to know. It's not enough to just make the allegation. Number two, the students went to the governor to claim. I don't know when these universities became a collection point for, area boys who will be playing governors, and saluting him.
No, they don't call him.
However, they celebrated the governor because he has released their colleagues. I guess even the parents must be very happy. But the governor, I dare say, not just on his own, unilaterally, say he's releasing the students, that a court of law has remanded in a correctional center. So the governor has no such powers under the doctrine of the separation of powers, which is very familiar, which is the Constitution of Nigeria, sections 4, 5, and 6. So the governor, it amounts to an abuse of procedure. If he, as the governor, says, so these people have been charged to court in my state, we think that they should be released, he will do so through his attorney general. There's somebody called attorney general. And the Constitution says where you want to withdraw criminal proceedings, which is called nolle prosequi, in Section 174 of the Constitution for the federal government, Section 211 of the 1999 Constitution for the state government. What I expect the governor to say is that, okay, I've directed my attorney general to advise on the procedure and to withdraw the case in public interest. He has to put that there, so that we don't ask him for too many explanations, but to have ordered that they should be released. No. That's acting ultra virus for the purpose of education, so that he will not act like that another time. But having made this mistake, let him go back to his attorney general to follow due process. He cannot overrule a judge in Benin court. He has no such powers.
Interesting. Very interesting delineation there. And as we talk about security and insecurity, let's now quickly highlight our photo of the day with the United States Africa Command, also known as AFRICOM, announcing the delivery of brand new military supplies to its Nigerian partners in Abuja. Now, the mission, announcing it in a Tuesday X post alongside this picture you see on your screen, saying that the delivery supports ongoing operations and emphasizes both countries' shared security partnership. It's still TBD, to be determined, when it comes to the type or quantity of equipment that was transferred. We know that in the past, U.S. assistance has included training programs for the military, as well as logistics and equipment support. And from new pushes to fight terrorism, let's now head to a state that's had to face its own fair share of terrorism and attacks, Katsina State, because in another development, a new video circulating on social media has sparked reactions from the public as it shows Katsina State Governor Diko Rada expressing the difficulties that come with being governor. In the video, which first circulated online over the weekend, the governor states that there's a lot that people don't see that goes into the job. Let's watch.
Abin da ke jin daɗi ai shi ne ka tafi ka huta kai abu in ka je can programs ɗin kama ɗaya bayan aka dawo baka da lokacin da kake in ka je Abuja yanzu tun ran Laraba muka tai Abuja tun da muka je program muke yi har jiya har cikin ran jiya na dawo Katsina so haka rayuwar take amma wani sai ta ganin ka an yi buhu da motoci da 'yan sanda shi ya gani yake wajen daɗi kake ko kana.
Now I'll take a quick reaction before coming to you by Jude says, this is a fascinating glimpse into perception versus reality. To the public, a convoy with police escorts signals prestige, comfort, power, but behind the tinted windows, the weight of responsibility, scrutiny, and public pressure can be crushing. Leadership often looks glamorous from the outside, yet it carries burdens invisible to the observers. The irony is almost cinematic. What appears enviable, sometimes a cage, and what seems ordinary may hold freedom others can only dream of. Now, this isn't the first time that the governor has spoken candidly about the challenges that he finds with being a governor. Last May, during a special prayer session, he talked about how it's a difficult job, that he felt caged. But in a lot of ways, I mean, isn't that what comes with the territory of being governor?
And you're troublesome. You know what they call first world problems in a third world country. So with your air conditioning, your chef who has prepared everything according to your taste. If it's not available, it's imported for you. Caviar, what you like. My tea is at wrong temperature. Warm it up. You know, chef, come and take it away. Oh God, my driver is driving too fast today. Oh goodness, this convoy today, it's like cars are dirty. I need to clean all the cars in the convoy. Really? Now imagine if that's a hard life. Imagine what it's like for those people in Katsina who have been victims of the bandits that are now being released back into their communities. We're seeing those people running away from their homes. People are living, we don't even speak of IDP camps. Have you noticed that in the current security crisis, we're not speaking of IDP camps? So the question is, people who are fleeing, where are they going? There are no camps yet. I mean, I stand to be correct. I would love to be corrected, and I will do the research. But I'm yet to hear of new camps being established by the federal government because of the displacement of people that's happening with this current surge in insecurity. So that means no water. I mean, we can't even speak of AC. We can't speak of electricity. We can't speak of predictable, stable meals. There's so many things we can't speak of. Mm-hmm. So I think that this comment is insensitive. I think that's unfair. I think that we should read the room, when we're making comments as leaders. Yes, they say sometimes you shouldn't compare people's burdens. People have different burdens, and the toe pinches us in different places. However, let's read the room. The current state of the nation doesn't call for this type of rhetoric, which is, I feel, is insulting to just average Nigerians who are struggling to get by on a daily basis.
It's very straightforward. I remember a play by James Henshaw, now late, now as a memory, a Nigerian playwright, a play titled This Is Our Chance. Now, there is a character in This Is Our Chance, Chief Bambulu, rich man with pot belly. He was drinking champagne, carried champagne. And he looked around and said, champagne, oh champagne. Oh, we big men are simply suffering with his bottle of champagne. That is exactly the kind of thing that Governor is doing. He's saying he goes to Abuja for meetings at the State House. He sits in an air-conditioned vehicle. He has a convoy, and that, he's suffering. This punishment is too much. Oh, that kind of suffering is a prayer point for Nigerians on Sundays or on Fridays when they go to the mosque. If Diko Rada thinks that being governor is a punishment, please let him go and resign and come and join us with the masses of Nigeria. Yes. He should come to our side. Because being a governor is such a punishment for him.
It's a punishment. Oh, I feel for him. He's so bad. God.
Why should you punish this governor?
Why you punishing him so much? This position is too hard for him.
Do we have a cancer? Let him come.
You know there's a video. There's a video of him riding horse.
Yes, I saw that.
For me, Governor Rada, I feel for you. What a pity. You are having the good things of life, but it's so hard for you. I feel for you. Don't worry. Just don't run for a second term or resign. Come and join us. Sorry, Don't mind them. Dr. Abati, she doesn't know what you are going through. The AC is too cold. The AC is too cold.
It's an abuse of his fundamental human rights to make him suffer.
He goes to meet President Tinubu on Wednesday and he sits for meeting. That bores him. Sorry. He goes for function. The function, they hail him. They say, Rankadede when he comes in. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry. Stay in your house. Sleep all day. Enjoy yourself. Oh, Governor, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I'm your man.
And next time you bring this type of story, please also bring tissue. Because this is very it's evocative.
I need to cry for
emotional.
Okay, on that note.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
On that note, let's now move on to before we take our final story under entertainment, let's very briefly head to Anambra State, where a video has been trending online that shows the moment a traditional Igbo Agaba masquerade attacks the musician Onowu Ugonabo Ego Mbute while he was performing on stage. Now, the incident took place on Monday during the last Ofala festival for His Royal Highness Igwe Michael Okechukwu. Let's take a look. Now, the last Ofala festival is typically meant to bid farewell to an Igwe after his passing, so it's a traditional ceremony that would have masquerades present. But online, this has sparked a lot of debate, with some saying that the masquerade was out of line, while others said no, the masquerade should be respected.
He's lucky he's not in Akwa Ibom State.
They would have been arrested.
Immediately.
Exactly.
Say that like, the masquerade should be respected.
Yes.
He's lucky he's in Anambra.
So let's
he should
now
go to Akwa Ibom and misbehave.
Let's take our final story under entertainment today. With the Grammy-nominated star Davido announcing that 2026 is the year that the first Chris Brown-Davido collaborative project will be released. Now, Davido revealed this during an interview with Billboard Arabia as the magazine's January cover star, but it's somewhat expected. The duo has collaborated on a number of songs and performed around the world together. Here they were in London last June performing With You. In addition to them, the project is expected to be a blend of their genres, Afrobeats, R&B, pop sounds, and I'm sure a lot of fans will be very eager to hear it. Yes. And that's it for me. Thank you for your great analysis, for the laughs. It was fun today. Oh.
Thank you very much. And it's on this midweek edition of the morning show. Rotus Odiri is up next.